Hey, y'all, yesterday we had the sentencing. What did y'all think about that? In the sentencing, there were no victim impact statements that were made. However, Ruby Franke's family, they wrote in letters and they weren't victim impact statements in support of the victims and how the perpetrator should get X, Y, and Z years because of the harm they inflicted on the children. These were statements in support of Ruby Franke. Now, the interesting thing is that in her brother's impact statement, he mentions how Jodi Hildebrandt also affected his marriage as well, and he saw Jodi Hildebrandt doing the same thing to people around him. Interesting. Let's see what we think about this. But first, thank you so much for hanging out here. Don't forget to like and comment below. Hold on a second. But first, don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe if you haven't already. Stop by my live streams if you haven't already. I stream on YouTube, Twitch. Come by and say hello. Anyways, back to this. Wait, who did I say we're starting with again? Oh, we're starting with Ruby Franke's mom and dad. Give me a second. Dated February 11, 2024. Dear Judge and Parole Board, we are Ruby Franke's parents. We are currently serving a full-time mission in Serbia. Okay, I can see why they added that in there. It's essentially saying, hey, this is a letter coming from good people. We do good things. Before Ruby came involved with Jodi Hildebrandt, oh, they spelled Jodi wrong, Jodi with the Y, she was a wonderful mother, daughter, sister, and member of the church. Now, I know a lot of y'all out there are kind of doubting the wonderful mother part because of the things you saw on the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. And don't worry, I'm right there with you. All she ever wanted from the time she was a little girl was a family to love and nurture, and maybe to control and manipulate as well. When she began having troubles with her teenage son, Chad, she sought out a family therapist / counselor to help them. Him, I think they meant to say. Now, Chad, I'm wondering if he was having normal teenage son issues, or if it was something beyond that. When I say normal teenage son issues, I'm thinking of maybe he wanted to spend more time with friends rather than family. Maybe he wanted some privacy. Maybe that privacy was something that's not really given to him, but he was kind of against that. Maybe Chad just wanted to go on social media like all the other kids. Maybe Chad just wanted to have a normal teenage life. Maybe he was acting out here and there because, teenage do go through their normal moods and spells and things like that. Oh my God, when I was a teenager, that shit was rough. But I don't know. Maybe Chad behind the scenes, maybe he was a lot worse. I did see on some parts of the 8 Passenger snippet that Chad was bullying his little brother. And when I say bullying, it was more like pulling pranks on him. Now, I don't know if on the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, if they did pranks normally, and then maybe Chad just took it a little too far. Maybe he wasn't sure what the boundaries were. I'm not really quite sure. I watched snippets, like I said, of the 8 Passengers YouTube channel. I did see a part where Chad and the daughter did mention how they felt like they had no friends. I know they were also isolated from other people. They didn't have digital, they didn't have like the iPads. They didn't have their iPhones. Those were taken away from them. And I can understand any other teenager or even a person would be a little upset at that. But then again, I'm not really quite sure. We noticed a shift in Ruby's thinking the summer of 2020. And by that fall, she cut all ties to us, her siblings, and close friends. For 3 years, what brief communications we had with her, she accused us of either things that never happened or she grossly exaggerated the events that did. She was delusional. I'm a little bit curious. I wonder what Ruby Franke was accusing her family of. I really do wonder that. And then also, 2020 is a very important time because back in 2019, Ruby Franke said in her statement to the judge, she said 2019 was when she hired Jodi Hildebrandt as a counselor for Chad. I think in 2020 was when she mentioned Jodi Hildebrandt was soon her mental guidance therapist. Something like that. I don't remember. She was delusional. She was deeply brainwashed. We could not recognize her. We received a postcard from Ruby 2 months after the terrible news of the children. We read her tender apology and humble acceptance of accountability. Interesting, 2 months. She expressed her gratitude for being incarcerated and felt the mighty wake-up call was a huge blessing. It was mentioned that the moment that Ruby Franke was handcuffed, the moment that she was picked up, she immediately had a wake-up call. Or, I don't know. I'm just going to present some other sides here. It's possible that she was just like, oh shit, now everything that's happening behind closed doors is being aired out. People are going to know how I'm treating these kids. Maybe it was a wake up call, or maybe she was just like, oh my God, things are about to hit the fan. This is about to be public. Since then, we have seen a return to the Ruby we once knew. Her thoughts and views are her own now. Her love and appreciation and commitment to her family is stronger than it has ever been. Well, yeah, because now she's being scrutinized. Now she's facing criminal charges. Ruby's more concerned about her eternal salvation than her imprisonment. Okay. Her testimony of the Savior and his atoning power means everything to her. As her mother and father, we plead with you to show her as much mercy as you can. Hopefully in time, she will have a relationship with her children and they will remember the mother she was to them and will find it in their hearts to forgive her. I really, really, really don't like that statement. I know that they are just trying to look at the positive, but I don't like that statement. And it's basically because of two parts. Now, they mention that hopefully she will have a relationship with her children. I hope in the future, that they are not going to try to pressure the kids to have a relationship with their mother if they don't want to. I don't like that external pressure from other family members to say, hey, your mom didn't know what she was doing back then. Oh, she was being brainwashed. Oh, you should give her another chance. That entirely needs to be up to the children. I don't like it when family members try to pressure because you weren't the one who went through this turmoil with the mother. The children did. You don't know what went on behind closed doors. You weren't there all the time, 24/7. And I think it's probably because I'm definitely projecting right now because I've had horrible relationship with certain family members, and then I'll have someone externally, another family member who'd be like, oh, you should give him a chance. Oh, like she did the best that she can. It's like, no, you don't know anything. Let me decide what I want to decide. So I really hope that the other family members, Kevin and Frankie, they're not going to put on extreme pressure for these children to try to have a relationship with their mother. If the children want to, then that's good. But, I could just be really reading into this. It could just be hopeful thinking. Now, the second part that I had issue with is that they will remember the mother she once was to them and will find it in their hearts to forgive her. I think Sherry, Frankie, and the other siblings, maybe like the older siblings, I think they were already having issues with Ruby Frankie. This was before 2020, before Jodi Hildebrandt came into the scene and start doing her mind controlling powers, if you even want to believe that. It seems like there was already finicky things happening behind the scenes that were already upsetting the children. And, when I saw that video of Ruby Frankie just being completely manipulative to her 3-year-old child when he wanted to come and get a snack and she was doing her manipulation tactics and she was shoving the camera in her face, I don't know, that was just really disgusting to me. However, that was a long time ago and people can change over time. And I do believe that. I'm hoping Ruby Frankie will change. But anyways, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. But I don't know. I don't know if the parents were really good to them before Jodi Hildebrandt came onto the scene. Or maybe it was just, maybe one day the children will grow up and be like, hey, when we were young, there was some really weird food manipulation. There was some really, really odd punishments that we had to go through. But you know what? I can forgive them for that. I can go past it and I can still love my parents. But what happened afterwards with the severe abuse that these kids went through? It wasn't just, hey, let me just, give you tough chores. These were like, if you read through the documents, they were pretty freaking bad. And as a mother, as someone who's supposed to be there to protect her kids, it's just really awful and it's super disgusting. And I know there's probably a lot of you guys out there that have kids and you're like, I don't understand how anyone can do this to their kids. I can't even fathom that. I only have dogs and I can't imagine doing that to my dogs. All right, back to the statement. She says that she's hoping they have a relationship with her. They'll remember the mother that she was once to them and will find in their hearts to forgive her. This would be the greatest healing balm of all for them. Hey, I think it's totally okay. If you went through something so severe, so traumatic, I think it's okay to, in your hearts, to forgive your parents. But at the same time, if you want to forgive them and cut them off, I think that's totally okay as well. That's totally okay. Yeah. Sincerely, Chad and Jennifer Griffiths. So that's Ruby Frankie's parents. Next, we're going to read her brother's statement. Also, I do want to go back. I don't know. If I were the children, maybe they did write victim impact statements on behalf of the children, but I highly doubt that. They probably just wrote something in to advocate for Ruby Frankie. I don't know. If I were the children, I'd be like, you're advocating for my mom? Fuck that. Why aren't you advocating for me? I'm the one who went through the abuse. But anyways, written on February 14, 2024. Oh, Valentine's Day. Dear Judge and future parole board. Ruby Franke is my older sister by a year and a half. Okay, so I'm assuming maybe they're really close. Growing up, we did a lot together and had a lot of shared experiences. Throughout her life, Ruby has always been an achiever and becomes recognized by authority figures. Her school teachers regularly commended her as she consistently earned high grades. She was praised by her piano teacher as she excelled in piano performances as well as competition. She worked at a call center together where she received numerous employee recognitions. Okay. She always jumps in with both feet, whether swimming, participating in the high school marching band, or as a school jazz band pianist. During her career on YouTube, she often told me that her desire was to spread the message that mothers are important and that mothers have strength in nurturing their children. I never had concern for her and her children, and I was impressed about how generous and kind she has always been to my children. I am just really wondering how the family was raised back then. I want to know how Ruby Franke's parents, if they also implemented similar punishments that she did to her children during the YouTube days. So whether it was through, you have to do your chores, otherwise you don't eat. The other parts of food manipulation, maybe it was isolation from friends. Maybe it was, hey, if you forget to bring food to your school, I'm not going to bring you anything because you're a child and you're responsible for your own actions. I always find those things very curious. Whether or not their childhood mirrors what they're doing to their children now. Because it's possible that to the family members, all this is seen as normal. Not the abuse stuff with Jodi Hildebrandt, but anything before that, the issues that people had with the YouTube stuff. Maybe all that was seen as normal to them because that's what they grew up with and that's what they did on their own and that's what they're used to. That's what I'm just wondering. I know the sisters did come out and speak, but I haven't really watched their videos. I don't think I really cared for it. Ruby and I both joined the Connections program. Interesting. As per usual, Ruby absorbed all that was taught. She recognized the instructor, Ms. Hildebrandt, as a woman who stood in authority and was recognized by the state of Utah as someone who is a properly trained and licensed professional. Now, remember Pam Bochner, who was on the body cam footage? She's the president of the Connections program. I wonder if Jodi Hildebrandt was kind of like a rogue lone wolf who implemented these severe, harsh abuse on children and no one knew about it? Or is she only targeted specific family members and did that? I mean, based off what Adam Paul Steed said and her niece, maybe initially things were not as severe, not as crazy. And then once she has you sucked in, if she knows that she can maybe squeeze more out of you, maybe that's when punishments became more severe. And then by that time, the parents were so, I don't want to like using the word brainwashed because they're adults. It's not like they're victims to Jodi as well. Okay. They're adults. Okay. I wonder if by that point, if the parents were just so sucked into Jodi's BS that they were okay with some of the severe, harsh punishments that Jodi would implement on the kids. I don't know. You look at my face. I'm like not really convinced, right? But anyways, she recognized the instructor, Ms. Hildebrandt, as a woman who stood in authority and was recognized by the state of Utah as someone who was properly trained and a licensed professional. Okay. Like many authority figures in Ruby's life, Ms. Hildebrandt saw Ruby's potential. She saw that Ruby was easily trainable and had the ability to influence others. She saw the millions of followers Ruby had worked hard to acquire on the YouTube and Instagram platforms. But by the time that I think Jodi and Ruby were making content on Connections, wasn't the YouTube channel already shut down by then? Maybe they were doing things behind the scenes. And then, because I felt like, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. When did Ruby Franke start appearing in the Connection stuff, like on YouTube and on the website? I thought it was after the YouTube channel was closed or shut down. Many of the teachings from the Connections program were reasonable and good. Unfortunately, as I later discovered, that is what made the program so dangerous. That's what I want to know. How much does the president know about this? If it was entirely crazy, it wouldn't have had any influence. The program was all a definition, a cult. Ms. Hildebrandt was the sole source of what was right or wrong and discouraged people from making their own life choices. I don't know. This kind of sounds like a religion. As a recurring theme was the principle of separation and isolation, which the leader routinely prescribed. I personally witnessed numerous marriage relationships separated through Miss Hildebrand's encouragement, including for a time my own. I believe the primary reason my marriage, as well as many others, suffered is that couples felt a looming threat to divorce. In this way, Miss Hildebrand kept couples continually paying for her program. In Ruby's case, I believe Miss Hildebrand wanted Ruby's platform and influence for her own gain. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced by that part because Ruby stopped doing all the YouTube stuff. Also, what I wanted to bring up, hold on, before I forget, there's a difference between being sucked into this mentorship program and having that mentor tell you, hey, if you want things to improve in your relationship, maybe you need to separate from your husband, significant other for a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. I think in one scenario that Jodi boasted, is that the word boasted? That she boasted about in her book was 2 years. And I was like, 2 years? Oh my God, 2 years. Anyways, there's a difference between that and there's a difference between, hey, let's take your children, let's make them sit outside in the searing sun. By the way, we're 2 hours away from Vegas. Summertime, searing sun, no water, no shoes. Let's make them get into the cactus. You know what? Let's bind them. There's a huge difference between the two of those. As a continued encourager of Miss Hildebrand, Ruby systematically pushed those around her away. First myself, then our sisters, parents, and close friends, and then her husband. And finally, her own children. Ruby has clearly been brainwashed. She has been taken advantage of by Miss Hildebrand. Also in Ruby Frankie's victim impact statement, or sorry, not victim impact statement, but her statement, her speech to the judge, she said that she was taking responsibility. However, she did start it off with blaming Jodi Hildebrand, saying she was brainwashed and how she finally woke up when the cops appeared and she was so thankful that they came to rescue her. It's like, no. They didn't come to rescue you. They came to rescue your children. They were the victims. In the absence of Miss Hildebrand, I have seen Ruby striving to restore those relationships. I mean, yes, in the absence of Jodi, but it's also she's been caught for what she's done. These heinous things. They've been aired out to the public, to her family members, to her friends, to her church members. It came to no surprise to me as soon as Ruby was removed from the fog of the cult, she recognized she was wrong and was ready and willing to unfeignedly take responsibility for the wrongs she had done. I asked for this information to be considered in decision relating to Ruby's sentencing. Sincerely, Beau Griffiths. Like I said, if I were the children, I'd be miffed, man. I'd be like, man, look at them writing these statements in support of my mom who abused me. Maybe they did write victim impact statements on behalf of the children as well, but I feel like that would be a little bit contradictory, wouldn't it be? To write one for the perpetrator and then write one for the victims. I believe that people can change. I'm giving Ruby a lot of shit because of the things that she's done. She's received criticism for how many years now? And she's pushed and pushed and pushed to the point where she wasn't taking any sort of responsibility back then. She had this high and mighty attitude that she was right no matter what. It's funny because all this was recorded. You would think watching it back on the YouTube channel, on the videos, you'd have time to reflect, be like, oh my God, how did I miss this in real time? Now that I'm watching this, I see that my children, they look genuinely sad. They look like they're suffering. They look very disappointed. They look lonely. She had so much time to kind of like she had so much material to go through and she just ignored them. The stuff that happened during the YouTube era, that could just be some really weird, funky, horrible, I don't know, like it's just weird ways to punish your children, but it's not technically illegal or anything like that, right? The isolation, not letting them have access to like iPads and all that stuff, not letting them be around their friends, you know, the food, weird manipulation thing. I don't know, all that stuff is like really weird to me. But I guess what we're focusing on right now is the severe abuse that the kids went through, especially over the summertime. And who knows how long before that. Now, do I think Ruby can change? Sure, I do think she can change. Do I think that she's completely changed right now? No, not really. I think she just got caught and she just has to essentially, it's all about crafting a new image, right? Crafting the image because she has nothing but gains if she were to tell the judge, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. She has nothing but gains in terms of reduced sentencing, in terms of how it will look to the public, how it will look to her family, church members, friends, all that I said before. But, oh God, I don't know. It doesn't matter what she says now. What really matters is how she serves her sentence. And when she's done, when she's out, because I'm confident that she's not really going to get that many years. Let's be honest here. I don't think she's going to get more than 10 years. I know 4 years is the minimum. I think she might even serve 4 years. I think that's a possibility. I do think that it would be in everyone's best interest if she were to make a huge change, because obviously that would be better for her children. It would be better for her. It would be better for her family. So, we don't really have too much to go off right now. We can make judgments about her, of her speech, but it's really about what happens afterwards. It's all the actions that she's going to take from this moment on. When she gets out of jail, how she's going to treat her kids, how she's going to hopefully accept responsibility for her actions, and how she's going to move forward with it. We'll see. Jodi Hildebrandt, on the other hand, I think Jodi Hildebrandt, that's an even more severe case to even be dealt with. I think Jodi has to go through some sort of, I don't even know what the right term is called. Is it called like deprogramming? I don't even know, because I feel like Jodi is so wrapped up into this. And for the longest of times, it seems like she had people around her that told her that this was okay. Because we have other victims that came out, but these victims were like, hey, like no one advocated for me. I was alone in all of this. Jodi Hildebrandt was a powerful figure, and she had other powerful people behind her. So for the longest time, Jodi Hildebrandt, she probably thought she was doing the right thing. She probably didn't think she was doing anything wrong. I don't know. Got mixed feelings about her. Anyways, so I wanted to share this with you guys. Shout out to KUTV for getting these two letters. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good one. And I will see you guys. You guys haven't already. I went over the Landry's deposition. It was very interesting. We went over Christopher Landry and Roberta Landry's. Those are Brian Landry's mom and dad. So check that video if you haven't already. All right, y'all. Bye.